Hello and welcome to CLEA'S World. I am Clea, and today I would like to share with you more of the information I've received from the 25th dimension during my last QHHT Hypnosis session. I'll be reading from a transcript of the session, and when I refer to Lorrayne, I'm speaking to my practitioner who's asking me questions I prepared in advance of the session. When I refer to me, I'm speaking of myself under hypnosis, which means the answers are coming from the 25th. Before I start reading, I'd like to thank you, as always, for subscribing, liking, and commenting. I really appreciate it. It makes me very happy. All right, I want to start reading here. Lorrayne, you said that Rishi Kumar and his wife have had to do, and we'll just say, because I have to be careful of the words I use, we'll just say sacrifices of a ritual kind, since making a bid for him to become UK Prime Minister. Are they still doing these? Me. No, they're not. Lorrayne. Okay, so it is over now. The sacrifices stuff is over. Me. Well, it is. In their minds, in the minds of the people that normally do them, it's on pause because they are being watched and they're being very careful. But yes, it's over because it's over. It is no longer supported. Lorrayne. Okay, he heavily funded, and this is the name of a pharmaceutical company that had an mRNA thing out, not the PF one, but the other one that starts with MOD. It's a very modern kind of company, let's say. He heavily funded this pharmaceutical company before the pandemic was sprung on the world. So they were in the inner circle long before now, correct? Me. Yes, well, not forever, though. The question implies, have they always been in the inner circle? No. But yes, they have been in the inner circle longer than him becoming prime minister, so for a while. Lorrayne, okay, these people, Rishi and his wife, they might have not been good in the way we think of good, but they were, quote unquote, normal, middle of the pack people, even if they probably didn't have many scruples since they were in politics. But even for them, having to do that kind of sacrifice must have been a surprise and a shock, even though they had been hanging out with the people who do that on a regular basis. It seems to Clea that the dark really has been very powerful here, just like the mafia. Once you're involved with them, you're trapped. We said that the people in the middle have had more freedom to move along the spectrum as opposed to people of the light or even the dark. But really, that's not the case. Clea is personally seeing people like her ex-husband, and they have inexorably moved toward the dark because it is so pervasive and it's so much easier to go along with it. Is it true that the dark has held more sway here, a greater gravitational pull? Meaning once you're involved, even to a small degree, you get sucked in more and more. So it's not really a level playing field? Me. Yes, exactly. Basically, yes, it has not been a level playing field for a long time. It has been very, very easy to slide if you were in the middle, to slide towards low vibration and the darkness. And yes, absolutely. Clea has experienced that firsthand with her ex-husband, but also with many other people. Basically, in this reality, unless you are on the team of the light, and we already explained how it's not that you're better for being on the team of the light, you're just on the other team, whatever other team means. But you set rules for yourself where you will not do certain things. So unless, which again, there is no judgment, doesn't mean you're better than anybody else or worse than anybody else. It's just the rules you set for yourself in your life. Or you could be in the middle, leaning toward the light, same story. You can still make choices, but generally speaking, you will make certain rules for your life where you're not going to cross a certain line. Now, we already said at higher self level, we have supported all of it, okay? So we're talking about 3D. We're talking about personality types where you have the strength to say, I will not, no, okay? There are a lot of people that are not capable of saying that. Clea's husband, for example, is a pretty good example of that. He was very much in the middle when she met him, but over time slid more and more towards the dark. Now, we're not saying that he's doing things that we associate with the dark, like abuse or anything that are illegal or that kind of thing. We're talking about, we're using him as an example. We're not saying he's worse than anybody else. But this was an example to exemplify that, yes, it is very easy to slide towards the dark, unless you do have these picket fences that you put up for yourself, where you say no, because we do live in a very imbalanced, or we have lived in a very imbalanced reality. That's what it means. That's how it translates into our daily life. When we say we've had peaks of 70 to 80% darkness here, we have lived with this reality here, where unless you stand up for yourself, unless you stand against it, and again, this against business, we already know this is part of the game. It's us versus them, okay? So we're talking from within the matrix right now, the way we've experienced this reality here. Unless you stand, quote unquote, against the dark, you will go along with it because it's everywhere, or it was everywhere. It set up this entire world. Everything you look at in your external reality, which we know is not real, but everything you look at was set up by the dark, or if not set up, completely controlled by the dark. So yeah, of course, it's easier to go toward the dark. In fact, what are you doing when you're standing against, when you're saying, I'm of the light, I will not do this, however you phrase it for yourself? What you're saying is no. That already tells you, if you have to say no, that something is being presented to you that is of the dark. And so for you, the only way to stand against it or to stand outside of it is to say no. Now, if this was a light, it had been a lighter, a more balanced reality, you wouldn't have to say no. You would just say yes to things that are of the light. But you can't really do this here because most of the stuff is of the dark. So all you can do is say no, if you're playing the game, of course. We've explained a million times, and we'll just say it again, that in reality, in order to collapse a reality, you have to basically remove your focus. So you stand outside of it, or you stand, basically, you don't even stand. You're not even interested in this reality existing anymore. You don't even think about it. So you're completely like, that was yesterday. This is what we've done now. This is what it means that we've rebalanced polarity. We've said, this is boring. We're not interested in this anymore. This is so yesterday. We're moving on. So yeah, we just wanted to make that point once again, just to clarify things. But yeah, absolutely, it's been easier. The propensity is to slide toward the dark. It's easier. You don't have to put up any resistance. You put up no resistance, you're sliding toward the dark because everything is dark here. I mean, imagine something that might look like a very neutral situation that Clea, for example, was dealing with. Clea, her first job, which she finished, well, the second job really, the first real job outside of the MBA, was to work in a bank. Of all banks, State Street Bank. Not that there are banks that are better than others, but even then, State Street Bank is one of the three main institutions that the Rockefellers used to control the world with. So clearly a very dark institution. She was doing her thing. She was doing really well. They kept promoting her. Her plan was to become CEO there, to go up through the ranks. And then something happened to change her life, which she chose to. Just before another promotion, actually, she chose to leave the job. Of course, she had a different path. And really, truthfully, behind the scenes, she did not want to be in that environment. That's what it is. But she didn't know that at a conscious level. But you see, it would have been so easy. Say that she had been, again, on neutral ground, going up through the ranks. And she was going up the ranks very quickly. She would have been working with the dark to advance an agenda of the dark around people who were probably doing certain things that she would have not been wanting to do. And so we interact. We've explained this before when we talked about one of Clea's dreams where she was dealing with a royal family, et cetera, et cetera. And we said, we think here, we like to think of the light and the dark as being these two very separate portions of humanity, and we don't need to interact. Well, I don't know any politicians, so I don't interact with the dark. We're all mixed together. There is no such thing. When we think of the light and the dark, we think in abstract terms. In real life, the way that we've experienced it here, it's kind of funny to call it real life. Of course, none of this is real. But in quote unquote real life, on planet Earth at 3D level, we all commingle. We all mingle with each other. There is no separation. We run into dark people. So it's not as black and white as we like to think of it. But yes, it would have been, just to wrap this up, it would have been super easier to slide toward the dark than on other planets, for example. Just even beyond the experience that the higher self wants to have, it's just easier to go along with dark things here. Lorrayne. It's interesting, in my own life, I've had so many instances where had my higher self wanted to slide in that direction, the opportunity was so close, it was right there. And yes, I mean, things that I was very naive and could have put me in situations where I was one of those sacrifice victims. But my higher self didn't want that experience, so I can see them. They were on the periphery. I was in the soup with all of the dark, but it clearly wasn't what my higher self or my personality signed up for. Although in my very early years, I was exposed to all of that and experienced some of it. So very interesting. Thank you. Okay. In relation to Bob Marley, you said he was in the middle and had to put up with a lot of dark stuff to become famous. Does it mean that a person of the light would not have done that and would have just sacrificed his career, even if he had a talent for music? Would have not been wanted to become a singer? It seems that we really were not free here. And I know you just discussed some of that. We were not free to do what we wanted because so much forced us to deal with the dark. But then again, we have all supported the dark. So where do we draw the line for where the support becomes enslavement? Have people of the light sacrificed careers and dreams while being okay with eating meat or torturing animals, banked with evil corporations, etc.? And here I was really trying to figure out where we crossed the line, basically. Where did it completely go upside down? Me. So yes and no. Yes, so when he says, even though we have gone along with certain things, and we also had to make certain sacrifices not to participate in certain rituals or certain realities of the dark, yes, we have supported everything. Otherwise, it wouldn't be happening, or it would have not been happening. It's not happening anymore. However, we also put up, again, we had lines we wouldn't cross at a conscious level. And so we say yes and no in terms of, have we sacrificed our careers? Again, yes and no, because it depends on how you think of it. So we'll give you an example from Clea's life. Again, Clea was going through the ranks at this bank very, very quickly. She was the fastest promoted person in her department. She actually left a couple of months before becoming an assistant vice president, which again, her goal was to go up through the ranks all the way to the top. And so when she left, she wasn't thinking, I'm sacrificing my career because I don't want to be part of the dark. She had no idea at a conscious level. She didn't want to know any of that. She was simply thinking, I have this other opportunity, which was I can work for myself. She became an online trader and asset manager. She basically started her first business, and this allowed her to travel the world. So this was much more of interest to her. However, going back in hindsight, she thinks, oh, what if I had stayed at the bank and then I would have gone up the ranks? I would have had this great position. I would have had all this money, blah, 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 blah. So in that sense, she might think that she sacrificed, but it's not a sacrifice. She's thinking, I made the wrong choice. So she had moments when she's regretted her choice, but it wasn't, again, she wasn't thinking in terms of sacrifice. Now, of course, the word sacrifice comes in at the higher self level, meaning as the higher self playing here, you might not want to use specifically in this case. Clea did not want to participate with certain things, so she found a different path. So is that considered a sacrifice? No, we mold our reality. That's all she was doing. Now, the question specifically was about, say that you are a great singer and you want to become a singer, but you see so many things, slimy things, messy things, because again, it's a 3D level, right? Going on in the music industry. And you're like, I want nothing to do with that. That would be your choice. And you would think, yeah, it's just not for me. And you would do something else. You wouldn't think of it as, oh God, I know I would do amazing. No, you would find there's something psychologically new or emotional where you're like, I really don't want to deal with that, I love singing. Maybe I'll go sing at church. And we're saying at church on purpose because church is not that much lighter. They were laughing here. But you see that you don't feel like you have to, that somebody has a gun to your head because you're saying, if you do this one thing, I'll make you into a decamillionaire. That's normally not going to happen if you sing at church. That's what we mean. You're not going to be at the point where you're willing to compromise, which is what happens to a lot of people in the middle that go to wear the dark, even the politicians. They're telling you, yeah, listen, we just need a body. We don't care about what you want to do, what you came in for. Maybe you have some idealistic ideas. Nobody cares. This is what we need. These are the laws we need you to pass. This is what you need to say, where you need to show up, what you need to do. And in exchange for this, we will allow you to make 100 million in the next 3 years. And for a lot of people, that's sufficient. Other people already said they have to threaten. If they say no, they say, well, now you know too much, so we're going to threaten your family. We already said not everybody who has done things that are of the dark from the beginning wanted to do those things. They might not even want to do them after they've done them. And I have one of my kitties here saying hi. Maxie, you want to say hi, baby? She's being camera shy today. So we always, again, we like to cluster everything together and say, this is the dark. This is how they behave. That's not true. The dark is just like us, and we're all different. We all feel differently about things, and we have all our own ways of thinking of things. So that's the case. So at any rate, yes, we have had to make different choices, which many times has meant that we would not allow ourselves to make a lot of money. So in that sense, have we made sacrifices? Yes, we did not make a lot of money because it would expose us to certain things. We do not win the lottery because it exposes us to certain things. We've had to make a lot of compromises here in order to have a certain type of life. And so in that sense, yes, we have had to avoid a lot of things. For example, I mean, even at 3D level, there are a lot of attorneys, criminal attorneys. They know that their clients are criminals and they find ways through the law to get them freed. So their clients keep doing exactly the same thing. They don't care. It's about money. Like, even at 3D level, if you're being ethical or not. It doesn't even have to be that extreme. There are people, Clea works in the real estate business. There are a lot of investors that could do things right, but they don't want to. And it would be just as easy to do the right thing, but they don't because they don't really care. They don't have the same standards. And we don't mean to say that Clea has higher standards. We're talking from a 3D perspective. She does make rules for herself, things that she will not do. But there are people who think nothing of these rules because they don't find them important for their life. They say, this is how I do things. It's all good. It doesn't matter. There are many other people that do the same thing as me. What's wrong with that? And Clea is an idiot. She just missed out on a deal because she wouldn't do this and that. And that's okay. We're all the same. We are just having different experiences. But we're trying to explain to you that, yes, based on the type of experience you want to have, you will make different choices. And sometimes at 3D level, that choice might look like you're missing out on stuff. Well, that kind of sucks, but it's what it is. I'm sure we've all had to deal with that in our life at some point. We just got to say now. So I hope you enjoyed this video and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Take care.